The courtroom erupted in chaos as Hannah Freeman's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "This isn't what we agreed to," she screamed, her face twisted with rage as Judge David Matia delivered her sentence.
You should have known that was over. It's my understanding that the victim had someone else in his life. I'm going to place you on 18 months of community control. You'll be ordered to have no contact with Mr. McKenzie, the victim. In this case, as a condition of community control, you are to wear a GPS device for the first 90 days. You'll be on house arrest with work release. You'll be ordered to undergo mental health counseling, particularly to establish healthy boundaries. And you will serve the first 7 days of this term of probation in our county jail. You are ordered remanded.
The 27-year-old former teacher had walked into that Cuyahoga County courthouse with a confident smile, believing her plea deal would save her from real consequences. That smile was now a distant memory. Freeman's explosion sent shockwaves through the packed courtroom. Her hands trembled with fury as the reality of 7 days in jail, 18 months of community control, GPS monitoring, and house arrest crashed down on her. This wasn't the gentle tap on the wrist she expected for stalking her ex-boyfriend over 30 times in a single month. Her defense attorney desperately tried to intervene, claiming the sentence violated their plea agreement. Judge Matia's response was brutal and unforgettable. "Your bad practice is not my problem." Those words ignited Freeman's final meltdown, a raw display of entitlement and rage that was captured on video and shocked viewers nationwide. But how did a respected educator become the defendant in such a disturbing case? Before we continue this story, don't let Hannah Freeman's shocking courtroom meltdown fade into silence. Subscribe now to uncover the disturbing truth behind how a respected teacher's obsession led to this explosive moment. Ignore this, and you'll be turning your back on the victim, who endured months of relentless stalking. Subscribe now, unless you're okay with letting this jaw-dropping breakdown go unnoticed. Hannah Freeman once commanded respect in the hallways of Ranger High-Tech Academy. Students looked up to her, colleagues trusted her judgment, and parents felt confident their children were in capable hands. The 27-year-old educator had built a reputation as someone who cared deeply about her profession, perhaps too deeply about everything in her life. But behind the polished facade of lesson plans and parent-teacher conferences, Freeman carried a secret weapon that made her feel invincible: her father's badge. As a highly placed police officer, Freeman's father had spent decades building connections throughout Ohio's law enforcement community. And Hannah Freeman knew exactly how to leverage those connections when things got messy. This wasn't just any teacher facing consequences for bad decisions. This was the daughter of a respected cop who believed the rules simply didn't apply to her. That confidence, that smug assurance that Daddy's badge would shield her from real accountability, would fuel every twisted decision she was about to make. When her relationship with a fellow educator ended, most people move on, heal, and find closure. Freeman chose a different path, one that would transform her from a trusted teacher into a predator, stalking through parking lots and breaking into vehicles. But unlike other stalkers who operate in fear of being caught, Freeman felt bulletproof. After all, who was going to arrest the police chief's daughter? The man who had once shared intimate moments with Freeman now found himself living in constant fear. Every morning became a nightmare as he wondered if she would be waiting outside his workplace again. And she was. Day after day, week after week, Freeman appeared like a ghost, haunting his professional life. 33 times she showed up at his job within a single month. 33 times he felt his stomach drop as he spotted her familiar figure lurking nearby. The harassment escalated beyond mere appearances, emboldened by Freeman's belief in her untouchable status. She didn't just watch from afar, she invaded his personal space, his privacy, his sense of safety. The sound of shattering glass became the soundtrack to his terror as Freeman broke into his car, rummaging through his belongings like a scavenger searching for pieces of their dead relationship. Freeman's theft wasn't random. It was calculated, personal, devastating. 2 computers disappeared from his vehicle, along with his wallet containing not just money, but her victim's identity and sense of security. The stolen items totaled over $1,100, 0 cents. But Freeman's arrogance made it clear she believed no one would dare prosecute her. After all, her father's connections ran deep. His colleagues began to notice the change in the victim. The confident educator who once led faculty meetings with authority now glanced nervously over his shoulder. Friends watched him checking locks twice, scanning parking lots before stepping outside, jumping at unexpected sounds. Freeman had successfully weaponized his own workplace against him, turning what should have been a sanctuary of learning into a hunting ground for her twisted game. The most chilling aspect wasn't just Freeman's crimes, it was her brazen confidence while committing them. She acted like someone who knew she would never face real consequences, someone protected by a network of badges and favors. Her victim felt trapped in a nightmare where calling for help seemed pointless. How do you report a stalker when her father controls the very system meant to protect you? But Freeman's confidence in her father's protection was about to be tested in ways she never anticipated, and the cracks in her shield of immunity were starting to show. What Freeman didn't realize was that some crimes are too public, too documented, and too outrageous for even the most connected family to cover up. The victim's breaking point had finally arrived. Months of terror, sleepless nights, and constant fear had pushed him to contact authorities. Freeman's reign of harassment was about to face its first real challenge: the justice system. But even as handcuffs clicked around her wrists, Freeman believed she held all the cards. The charges were staggering: menacing by stalking, burglary, theft, identity fraud, and theft of drugs. All felonies that could have destroyed her life. Yet Freeman's legal team worked their magic, negotiating with prosecutors to reduce her charges to misdemeanors: disorderly conduct, obstructing official business, and possessing criminal tools. Charges that sounded almost laughable compared to the terror she had inflicted. Freeman walked into that courthouse on sentencing day wearing confidence like armor. The plea deal was done. The heavy charges were gone. She had outmaneuvered the system, or so she thought. Her smile radiated satisfaction as she took her seat, certain that Judge David Matia would rubber stamp the agreement and send her home with barely a scratch. The courtroom was packed, tension thick in the air. Freeman's victim sat quietly, wondering if justice would truly be served. Her defense attorney, Michael Kinlan, shuffled papers with the nervous energy of someone who knew this case had pushed boundaries. When Judge Matia began speaking, his voice carried an authority that made everyone lean forward. 7 days in the Cuyahoga County Jail, he announced. 18 months of community control. GPS monitoring for the first 90 days. House arrest with work release privileges only. Freeman's smile evaporated instantly. This wasn't the slap on the wrist she expected. Her face flushed crimson as the reality crashed down around her. The confident mask she had worn cracked, revealing the rage bubbling beneath the surface. Kinlan shot to his feet, desperation creeping into his voice. Your Honor, this sentence exceeds what was discussed in the plea agreement. We had an understanding. Judge Matia's response cut through the courtroom like a blade. "Your bad practice is not my problem." Those 7 words ignited Freeman's fury. The woman who had terrorized her victim for months finally tasted her own medicine: helplessness. Her voice erupted in the courtroom, echoing off the walls as months of entitlement and rage poured out in an uncontrolled torrent. The cameras captured every second of her meltdown, preserving her breakdown for the world to witness. The judge remained unmoved by her outburst, his calm authority a stark contrast to Freeman's chaos. He continued reading the conditions of her sentence, as if her screaming was merely background noise. No contact with the victim, mental health counseling mandatory, electronic monitoring to track her every movement. The very control she had exercised over her victim was now being imposed on her. Freeman's breakdown intensified as each condition was read aloud. The woman who had believed herself untouchable was being systematically stripped of her freedom. Her fellow educators, watching from the gallery, witnessed the complete destruction of someone they once respected. The transformation was complete. From trusted teacher to convicted criminal, having a public meltdown. Security moved closer as Freeman's outburst continued, ready to restore order if necessary. Judge Matia's description of the case as a bizarro breakup between 2 professionals seemed almost understated given the spectacle unfolding before him. This wasn't just a sentencing, it was the public unraveling of a woman who had lost all control. The video of Freeman's courthouse explosion would later go viral, shocking viewers who couldn't believe a former educator could behave so destructively. Her victim, finally seeing justice served, watched as his tormentor faced consequences for the first time. But Freeman's courthouse meltdown was just the beginning. What happened next would reveal whether justice had truly been served, or if her sentence was merely the start of an even more disturbing chapter. The aftermath of Freeman's explosive reaction would raise questions that cut to the heart of the justice system itself, leaving everyone wondering if the punishment truly fit the crime that had terrorized an innocent man for months. The gavel has fallen, Freeman's rage has echoed through the courtroom, and her father's badge couldn't save her. But was justice truly served? 7 days in jail for months of terror, 18 months of community control for destroying another person's sense of safety, a GPS ankle monitor for someone who believed she was untouchable because of daddy's connections. Here's what's eating at everyone who witnessed Freeman's explosive meltdown. Was Judge David Matia's sentence actually justice? Or did Hannah Freeman still manipulate the system? She reduced felony charges to misdemeanors through a plea deal, walked in expecting immunity, and even her attorney seemed shocked when real consequences hit. The victim endured 33 stalking incidents while Freeman's police connections made him feel helpless. His car broken into, belongings stolen, workplace turned into a hunting ground. He lived in constant fear while she played twisted games, confident her father's badge would protect her. Freeman's courtroom explosion revealed her true character. Entitled, manipulative, completely lacking remorse. She wasn't apologizing for the terror she inflicted. She was furious her privilege had finally failed her. What's your verdict? Drop your thoughts below. Was Freeman's sentence too lenient, or did she finally face the accountability her father's position couldn't prevent? Subscribe now as we examine what this case reveals about privilege, justice, and whether the system truly held her accountable. Hannah Freeman's story exposes the ugly truth about privilege and how far some people will go when they believe they're above the law. Her father's badge gave her confidence to terrorize an innocent man for months, turning his workplace into a nightmare and his life into a constant state of fear. But when that protection finally crumbled in Judge David Matia's courtroom, Freeman's true nature exploded for the world to see. 7 days in jail. That's what Freeman received, for 33 stalking incidents, breaking and entering, theft, and psychological torture. While she wears her GPS monitor and serves house arrest, her victim continues dealing with the trauma she inflicted. The computers and wallet can be replaced. The sense of safety she stole from him cannot. Freeman's courtroom meltdown wasn't remorse. It was rage that her privileged world had collapsed. Her breakdown raises disturbing questions. How many other cases like this get buried because of family connections? How many victims suffer in silence because they know the system protects the perpetrator's powerful relatives? The most chilling aspect isn't Freeman's crimes, it's how confidently she committed them, believing her father's position made her untouchable. Her case proves that privilege can shield predators until the evidence becomes too overwhelming to ignore. Judge Matia's cold response, "Your bad practice is not my problem," became the moment Freeman learned that some judges can't be bought, intimidated, or influenced by connections. Justice was served, but questions remain about whether it was enough. Freeman manipulated the system from arrest to sentencing, turning felonies into misdemeanors through plea deals. Her victim deserved better. He deserved a system that protected him from the start instead of one that had to be dragged kicking and screaming to accountability. Don't let Hannah Freeman's story fade into silence while victims of privileged predators continue suffering without justice. Subscribe now to expose more cases where power protects the guilty and silences the innocent. Ignore this and you're complicit in letting these stories disappear. Subscribe now, unless you're comfortable abandoning victims who desperately need their voices heard.